life is all about stories. We all have a story of our own, you see, and how selfish it would be if we didn't share it with others, because it is our stories that empower us. It is one story that may give someone else a reason to go on, to hope even, because stories are a powerful thing. Let me share with you the story of two incredible individuals who were always meant to be, and who stood at each other's side until the bitter end. Meet Deborah, known to many as Granny. She is the 10th child of a family of 10 kids, and she had to learn since birth that if you wish to make it in this life, you have to fight for every second of it. You see, according to logic and science, she wasn't meant to make it in this world. They had packed her mother's womb to kill her in order to save her life. But when you're meant to be in this world, nothing can stop you from coming into it. And until it's your time to go, nothing or no one can take you out. Deborah was born on April 1st in 1959 in Haytime, Missouri. She spent almost all of her childhood in the quaint little town of Holcomb, home of some of the best barbecue pork steaks. Eventually she moved to Kennett, Missouri, home of the best donuts you've ever tasted in your life. She was 15 at the time when she met my grandpa, and the second she saw him, she knew that one day she would marry him.
One of my best friends got her driver's license, and we were in Kennett, Missouri, and I wasn't old enough yet. She asked for permission for us to take her daddy's truck. So he told us where we could go, and he said we better go exactly where he said, or she wasn't going to get to take the truck anymore. So we took off, making a few spins like all of y'all did when we were teenagers. And there sat a boy on his car, the hood of his car, right to the right side of us. And it must have been the Lord, because I looked out that window and I had never met him, didn't know who he was, and I said, I'm going to marry that man.
Meet Stanley Wayne Toon, a Vietnam-era United States Marine veteran, born on July 5th, 1956 in Kennett, Missouri. He too learned at a very young age that if you want to make it in this life, you have to fight for it and work for it. And he did. From the time that he was a little boy, his work ethic was developed. And he did everything from chop cotton, mow yards in the neighborhood, to when he was older, he did roofing and construction and truck driving. No matter how difficult the problem, no matter how impossible the situation, and no matter how heavy the load, he always found a way to carry it, because he would always do whatever was needed, whatever work had to be done in order to make sure that his family had everything they needed. Because that's who he was. He was a family man. Because to him, his family, his loved ones, those closest to him, they meant everything.
I don't know, maybe weeks or months later, he was sitting at a grocery store and his mom was in there shopping. So here goes my friend, she said he was going to want her, and I said, no, he's going to choose me. So here we go gallivanting, and I'm 15 and she's 16, or she might have just had her permit, I don't know. But anyway, so we get over there and we start talking to him. And he starts talking with us. And that went on, and we had a good chat, and then me and her went off giggling like teenagers do. Well, it just continued, and then my mom said, well, you're not going to see him. So she said he was a long-haired hippie, but he wasn't. He was a good boy. He did have long hair like an Indian, and they called him Cowboy. I didn't tell him to go join the Marine Corps, but he did. So there I was, left with my mom carrying the baby, and he got shipped on out, and there I was, 16, having a baby, and I didn't get to marry him because Mom wouldn't sign the papers. And so we went on, and he went and done his basic training, and he went on to Camp Pendleton, and then he was sent overseas to Guam for 18 months. So he didn't even get to see that baby until she was about 8 months old. But we sent cassette tapes back then, and she knew her daddy's picture, and she knew his voice. And the first time she laid eyes on him, he got a 30-day leave to come home from Guam, and she called him Daddy because she recognized him. But he loved the Marine Corps. He served 4 active and 2 reserve. I served, after I turned 18, I said, Mama, you can keep me from marrying him, but the day I turn 18, I'm gonna marry that boy. And I did at 6 o'clock that night at my sister's house in Holcomb, Missouri. From 74 on, we spent 44 years until the day he died. But he loved the Marine Corps, but we decided he was going to make a career, but we decided that our parents were so old that we would rather come back home and spend that time with them. And I sure am glad that we've done that. And my children and my grandchildren got to know their other their grandparents, and loved them dearly. But our story goes on and on and on. Our first real home was in Kennett, Missouri, and it had been a chicken house for the house that was in front of it. But the man had remodeled it. It was a nice little 2-bedroom. And he told me and Stanley he liked us, and he said if we would save up $1,000 and he would give us time to save that, he would take that down and let us pay it out. I think it was $80 and a penny a month. Well, we paid for that little house, and we appreciated that man helping us. And that's why our hearts are the way it is now, because of the people that have been in our life through the years. But then we went on to really make that nice over 11 and a half years. And then we bought other houses and rent houses and set them up on the payment plan, like for 5 years. My husband believed in a 5-year plan and not owe people and not owe for your homes or nothing. And we were able to help family and people out with those houses when we had them. When they needed a home, we were able to put them in our houses and be able to help them. And so that's kind of what we was aiming for Grace Ranch, was a place to call home. And when we pulled up in here in 2011, we had a dream, we had a vision. But, things didn't go right because of my husband's health, but we still worked the nursing homes. Most times 3 on a Saturday, we would go sing even though he felt really bad and he was ill. It just gave him great pleasure, to work for the Lord. And he said, he didn't even hurt when he felt that anointing of God while he was working and singing for God and in the little churches and things. And so we had this vision for Grace Ranch, but we couldn't complete it. He stayed in ICU, surgeries, one heart attack after another. He got one stent after another, but God spared him from 1999 until 2018. God spared him. And so we had a vision here, but he couldn't complete it. We couldn't complete it for funding, because of him being in the hospital so much. We didn't have enough money. He didn't want to borrow on it because he was so sick. He knew he would leave me first, is what he said. So he didn't want us owing a lot of money. So we have a beautiful home, and we have a beautiful piece of land. And he had a tractor that we got paid for it at our Amish farm. And he would see somebody and they needed help, and as sick as he was, he would say, Mom, the Lord has blessed us with this tractor and we need to bless others. So he had the biggest heart in the world. And so we would, as sick as he was, we'd load it up on a trailer and we would go help people till up gardens, bush hog for them, and things that little elderly people just couldn't do and they couldn't afford to hire. So see, that's like the family of God, When our pastor asked us in the 80s, to go help with jail ministry, well, we got the bug then And we love the nursing homes and we love to help people. And because I was homeless and because I was a runaway, because I was pregnant at 15 and a mother at 16, I have a heart, for young girls. And, people said, well, they get what they deserve. Well, a lot of y'all know me, and you've known me a lot, most of my life. Some of you have known me all of my life. And I turned out pretty good. So God has a purpose for people's lives, and I think we should help them. I think we should be a support system. I've got a lot of women through domestic violence and everything, and they call me mama and grandma, and I have tried to be that person, and I thought one time, because of my daughter being in trouble, I said, Lord, where are all of these young people's mothers and grandmothers, and what would they do, what would my daughter do if she hadn't had me to help her? And the Lord spoke to me really plain and said, you are the mama. I am the mama. We are supposed to help the younger women. We're supposed to help everybody. But my purpose and my calling is different than a ministry of sitting in a building, because the family of God is everywhere. And out on this internet, a lot of y'all have never met me, but we've known each other for over 20 years, some of you. And you're my dear friends, and you're family to me like blood. But we've never seen each other face to face. But see, that's the family of God. That's what we want to create on Grace Ranch. We want people learning to help people, learning to love people, and a place for somebody to belong. Now, maybe I can't sleep them all, or I can't put them all here, but there's a purpose and a plan that God has. But when we bought this in 2011, people said, how did y'all find that place? We lived on an Amish farm in Missouri, and I prayed, and my whole family prayed, and we wanted to come to Texas. The boys wanted to come to Texas, and Dad said, well, if we're going anywhere in Texas, Mom, look in East Texas. So I began to look, and we all prayed, and we found this abandoned girls' home, and nothing here was livable, and most of it still is not, because we couldn't get it all remodeled. But there is a plan and there is a purpose for this land. I still own 25 acres. Nathan and I are still here, and we intend to fulfill the purpose and the vision and the dream that me and my husband had. And we still go to the nursing homes, we still sing, Nathan still helps everybody, I still help everybody. But there's only so much money in the world, and you can't help everybody. But together as a body, the body of Christ, and I told Nathan the other day, he needs to sing that we are the body. So some people cannot go, but Nathan said, Mama, our feet go, our hands work, our mouths work. We do go and sing and we help. And the nursing home ministry, or the ministry as I see my ministry, is that if they need clothes, you need to give it to them. I've took people in my closet, let them pick out clothes. We have fed everybody at our table. We fed people homeless, for Thanksgiving. We still feed everybody at our table. Nathan loves to cook. We love to feed people. So at the nursing home, when somebody has a need, I feel that the family of God should meet it. One lady in one of the nursing home years ago, before my husband passed, she said her brother put her in there, and Nathan had a guitar and my husband was playing his guitar. She said, my brother took my guitar from me. Well, that broke my heart, and when we left there, I told my husband, can't you and Nathan find her a guitar, and can't we get it fixed up, and bring it to her? And my husband said, we sure can. So him and Nathan got on like Marketplace and Craigslist and all that, and they found a young man selling a guitar, and we bought it, and my husband put new strings on it, and him and Nathan shined it up, and I never will forget the look on that lady's face when we took that guitar in, and we have a picture of that somewhere, but I'm telling you, it filled her heart full, and it was just an old used guitar. I think that is what the Lord wants God's people to do, is to make something better for somebody. Now, she didn't get out of the nursing home, but she did have a guitar, and she did begin to play again. So that made her happy, and it really filled our hearts too. So that's what we're trying to accomplish on Grace Ranch. We want to have, we don't want to charge people. We want to be a ministry. We don't want this to be a business, but even though it will take money to fulfill this dream. But we want people to come out here to brush arbors. We want to be able to cook and feed people. We want to have a place, maybe some cabins out here around to where we could let you come and visit and stay with us and see what we're doing and watch us in this process. Well, in 2014, we had a dear friend give me a big old greenhouse and a lot of citrus trees, and all for free. So we put that up and went and got it from Henderson, Texas, and brought it out and put it up and put a lot of new stuff in it. So it was pretty much a new greenhouse. Then we had the tornado that come through and took it totally down. So I lost all the citrus trees, 8 of them, and all of that greenhouse. And then when we had the Snowmageddon, I lost a 30 by 90 shade cloth over all my berries and broke all my tables. And then at the same year, it collapsed the big commercial greenhouse also. And the little 30 by 30 that I have left, it's tore the plastic, it's tore it up a lot, and it's leaning really bad. So my purpose was, when I started the orchard, when we came here, was to have a community place to where you could have good food, non-GMO and heirloom seeds and organic. But every single thing has fought me on that. But here we are again, and 4 years after my husband's gone, we want this farm to still be his legacy. And we've worked hard. I still have some of the orchard left. I still have a lot of the berries that need, just restructured. Everything needs restructured. Our home that we're living in, me and Nathan, is leaking severely bad, and it's ruined a lot of our ceiling. So we've had one problem after another, but we continue, and we will continue. I want to open a building out here. I'm growing a lot of medicinals, and I want to be able to share not only how God can heal you, but how plant medicine can heal you, the food, the spices, and the medicinal plants. And I want to be of service to the Lord with my talents that He's enabled me with, and with me not going to the doctor and learning to take care of my body and my issues. I want to share that with the world. I hope that there's a multitude that comes through Grace Ranch, that we touch their lives and that God touches their lives, and it'll be a healing and a restoration farm. In the mid-'80s, I contracted what they call, a little tick falling on my head, and I became very ill with Lyme's disease and almost lost my life 3 times. My husband took great care of me, and by 1989, I had a 5-month-old baby when the Lord came in and the preacher prayed, and that fever broke 105 and 106. And I walked away from medical at that time because they couldn't help me. And I had to learn to study, and I had to learn to pray, and I had to study the Word of God too to learn this medicinals, and listen to a lot of old people and everything. And went on, and it goes on. I didn't have enough knowledge, but I thank God for all the knowledge He gave me. And so I managed this illness without pharmaceuticals until 2017. Well, that come back on me and was crippling me in all my joints, and I was going to soon sit in a wheelchair. And my husband was ill, so I knew I couldn't go downhill that fast. So I told him, I was going to have to do something, and he didn't want to move and leave the farm. He didn't want to give it up. This was he loved it dearly. So he told me to get online and find something, which I did. And from 2017, when I had this plant medicine, and it removed my symptoms. I'm 63 years old now. I run this farm, drive a tractor, I lift hay bales, I lift 50-pound bags of feed, and I work hard. But even with that, losing my husband in 2018, then 2019, we had other things hit us, and then we had COVID hit, and then Nathan and I both had COVID, and I had to use all of my knowledge, to just quarantine ourselves here and take my roots, my barks, and all the medicine that I had been taught through the years. And thanking God that churches and people loved us and they prayed. Neighbors come and put stuff on my porch, for food. And we beat that too. But it seems like we have had a spiritual warfare like none other, because we cannot seem to get this farm going, but we will. And God will enable us to do it.
If there's one thing we could all benefit from learning in this life, it's that life is messy, and that's okay. Because it's the messiness of our lives that form and shape us into who we are. Because without those parts of our life, we wouldn't be who we are. Without the broken pieces, we could not be made whole. I want to clarify that we're not asking you for anything. And while you as an individual may feel that your $1, your one prayer, your one kind thought doesn't amount to much, I want to assure you that everything that you do in your life makes a difference. Everything has a ripple effect. Everything will impact someone's life in one way or another. And while it's so easy for us to feel limited at what we can do as individuals, we have to remember, together, we are more. Together we can change the world. So you see, what we have here is more than just some piece of land. It's a legacy. My grandpa's legacy. And what a beautiful legacy it would be if people could continue being helped in honor of him through the dream and the vision that my grandma and grandpa both had for this place the minute they pulled in the driveway.
We got here and pulled our bus in this driveway,